Hello there and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about patch 1107, the Siren Isle, and in this video we're going to go through everything that is coming with this patch of the War Within. There are a ton of new features coming in this patch, including a new zone, new catch-up items, major story beats, character updates, grouping updates, item updates, loads of new stuff coming in this patch, and in this video we're going to go through everything that you need to know about this patch that's coming out extremely soon. But before we jump into that, guys, I do want to shout out the sponsor of this video, and that is Boot.dev. This video is sponsored by Boot.dev. Boot.dev is an online platform where you can learn back-end web development from start to finish in Python and Go programming languages. Boot.dev know that the smartest way to learn code is to make sure you're never bored, so that you can stick with it long enough to reach your goals. And they know that you can't learn code without writing a lot of code and building real projects. Boot.dev feels like a captivating RPG game. You can earn XP, levels, achievements, and complete quests to get a top spot on the global leaderboard. And all content on Boot.dev is free to read and watch in guest mode. A paid membership unlocks all the interactive features like hands-on coding, AI assistance, progress tracking, and the game elements. If you're interested in jumping into Boot.dev, then click the link in the description and use my code MrGM to get 25% off your first year if you choose the annual plan. And thanks again to Boot.dev for sponsoring this video. Alright, so yes, patch 1107 is coming out extremely soon, with the launch date being announced as December 17th in the NA region and December 18th in the EU. Of course, patch 1107 is a minor patch of the War Within, but it does include a ton of new things, including a new zone. So let's start off by talking about the brand new zone of patch 1107. Now, this new zone is called the Siren Isle, and this is where you're going to be spending most of your time in patch 1107. Now, this island is extremely similar to the Forbidden Reach, if you remember that from patch 1007. This map actually started its life back in Battle for Azeroth as an unused island expedition, but as of 1107, it's had some major changes to the look of it, and obviously the way that it's integrated into the story of the War Within. Now, this is not the biggest map in the world, but it does have different phases with different NPCs. On the regular version of the map, there are 3 different rotations of NPCs. So you have Pirates, Vikel, and Naga. But there's also a Storm phase, which is unlocked through completing the World Quest, which is up every 3 days. In this phase, you can't fly, there's harder mobs, different quests, things like that. It just seems like a much harder version of the map, similar to how the Rift phase worked back in Korthia. But yes, I did mention flying. Flying is going to be an unlock on the island. However, it will take 6 weeks of weekly quests to get flying. So it's going to take a little bit to get flying here, but there is various ways of getting around, including jetpacks and things of that nature, so it shouldn't be too bad. However, yes, you will be using those ground mounts for the most part in this zone. Getting to the island is extremely simple. It is unlocked through a small intro quest, and there's an NPC just outside Dornagul, which will teleport you there, or you can use a new mole machine, which is now in Gundaraz, to teleport you straight to the Siren Isle. Now, what are we doing on the Siren Isle? So this is kind of your standard zone with secrets and rares, treasures, and dailies. There's also a world quest, which is up every 3 days. Completing this, as I said, does open up the Storm phase. There is also a new system here called Major Excavations. There are 3 of these, and essentially these are just caves, which spawn mini-bosses for you to kill. To unlock the caves, you do need to contribute some of the new currency. There's a new currency here called Flame Blessed Iron. This is a currency you're going to get from literally everything on the Isle, and is needed for everything on the Isle. This is warband transferable. You're going to use this to contribute to Major Excavations. You're going to purchase all of the transmogs and rewards and things of that nature which are around the island, which we'll get into in a second. But speaking of rewards, the kind of biggest thing you're going to be getting from this island is going to be a new ring called Circe's Circlet. Now, if you remember the Onyx Amulet from the Forbidden Reach, this is extremely similar to that. This is unlocked very early on in the intro questline, and is actually one of the first rings you'll ever see on your character when you have it equipped. Now, much like the Onyx Amulet, it does have 3 sockets, including a yellow thunder socket, a blue sea socket, and a red wind socket. However, the good thing about this is that you can swap and change your gems whenever and wherever you like. There are tons of gems to collect, which are rewarded from various different types of gameplay, some from basic quests, secrets, rares, treasures, all sorts of things. We're fairly sure unlocking the gems is going to be account-wide, as you will be able to purchase them from vendors on alt characters. The item level of this ring does start at 6 619, which is equivalent to hero track, and then every week you'll get an upgrade item to upgrade this ring at a cap of 639, which is actually mythic item level, which is awesome. The powers inside the ring, the gems, do actually upgrade with the ring item level instead of having to upgrade all the individual gems, which is super nice. Also on this zone, you will have some catch-up gear. You'll have some item level 584 veteran gear, which is a recolor of the Khazalgar dungeon set, so that'll be good for all your alts. That's all warbound as well, so you can send that over to your characters to get a full set of veteran gear that you're going to get pretty quickly. There are also 4 different mounts to collect, so you have Sowezi's Vintage Wave Shredder, which uses the surfboard model. That is just purchased with the new currency. You have the Prismatic Snapdragon, which is going to take 10 days of dailies, and you're able to actually change the color of this, similar to the Mechagon cat, which is cool. You have the big ticket item, which is Thraenir Eyes of the Siren. This is a secret Stormcrow mount, which is obviously an unused model from patch 5.4, and this is unlocked by obtaining 5 runestones from around the island. I'll have more detailed guides on all of this very, very soon, nearer to the patch launch. And finally, the final mount is the Breaker's Song mount. This is actually a recolor and slight redesign of the Dreadwake, and this is the meta achievement mount for the zone. Speaking of achievements, yes, there are quite a few achievements attached to the Siren Isle. A lot of them are very, very achievable, and this seems like a zone which actually going to be relatively easy to complete, which would be super nice for you collectors out there. But tons of transmogs, mounts, collectibles, all that kind of stuff on this island, and of course the Circe Circlet Ring, which is going to be a massive advantage to your character's power going into the end of Season 1 and of course the beginning of Season 2. But yes, that's the Siren Isle in a nutshell. I do have a full video going over every little detail of this if you do want to check it out, and I'll link that down below if that's something you're interested in, but that's kind of a general overview of the new zone coming in 1107. Also in 1107, we are going to get some story beats, so we are actually going to get some Haranir stuff with Orwaina. It's not been specified what exactly that is going to be. It is on the splash screen, and we did get a little tease of a potential cutscene from 1107, so we're not really sure what's going on with that, but yes, we are going to get some Haranir content in 1107. Also, we are going to get a new questline called Fate of the Kirin Tor. This was testable on the PTR and is a very nice little kind of send-off to Dalaran and a little bit of hint towards where we're going in the future in regards to the Kirin Tor. So 2 kind of major questlines coming in patch 1107, which is going to be great. Also as well, character updates. We're getting some character updates in 1107, including brand new ear shapes for the human Koltiran and the human version of the Worgen. These were data mined way back in the beta, I believe, and obviously are just kind of the Arathi ears, which are the pointy ears. This will be a new option that you don't need to unlock for all of your human characters to change the ear shape, if that's something you're interested in. Also coming in 1107 is major updates to racials. Racials are getting a ton of changes across the board for all of the races, so let's just quickly go through all of those. So let's start with the Draenei, and a nice simple one. So their Gift of the Naru racial will now have its cooldown reduced to 2 minutes from 3 minutes previously. For the High Mountain Tauren, their Rug Tenacity racial, which reduces damage taken, will have its effect increased by 50%. For the Lightforged Draenei, there's actually quite a few changes here. So their active ability, Light's Judgment, has had its radius increased by 10 yards, which was previously 5, and its visual size increased. Also, this ability has had its damage increased by 40%, and now deals reduced damage beyond 8 targets. This is a really cool ability, and actually a really good AoE for leveling. Also, their passive ability that reduces holy damage taken, called Holy Resistance, is now been renamed Holy Providence, and now also increases your healing done by 1%. For the Mag'har Orc, their racial Ancestral Call has been increased by 30%, and now increases one of your 2 highest secondary stats. For the Nightborn, their ability Arcane Pulse has now had its damage increased by 300%, and now reduces movement speed by 80%, which was 50%, and the duration of that has been reduced to 8 seconds and was previously 12. So going into Void Elves now, they've had some really cool changes. So their racial Spatial Rift, the rift that you blast out, has now had its speed increased by 80%, and the duration has been increased to 8 seconds. Now the range of this has also been increased to 35 yards, and the visual effect has been updated. So yeah, that actually looks really cool now. So you blast off a thing, it goes super fast, lasts a bit longer, and it looks even cooler. So some great changes to Spatial Rift there. And also their Entropic Embrace racial has had its proc activation rate adjusted, and now increase healing and damage by 5% for 12 seconds, and now functions with absorbs as well, which is cool. For For the Volpira, their Bag of Tricks ratio is getting some changes. So Bag of Tricks healing and damage has been increased by a whole 40%, and Bag of Tricks also now decreases enemy movement speed by 80% for 4 seconds, and increases ally movement speed by 20% for 4 seconds. And it now only affects a single target. For the Worgen, they're getting some speed increases, so their racial Dark Flight now stacks with other movement increasing effects, which is fun, so you can run super fast as a Worgen. And the cooldown has been reduced to 1.5 minutes, which was previously 2 minutes. And finally, the Zandalari Trolls, so their racial Regenerating is no longer cancelled from periodic damage effects, and its cooldown is now 3 minutes, it was 2.5, and it now heals for 50% of your maximum health, which was 100%, so a bit of a nerf there to Regenerating. Also, their Embrace the Lower racial, where you change the different embraces, has had a couple of changes to some of the lowers. So the Embrace of Akunda's healing has been increased by 300%, and the chance to trigger has also been increased by 250%. The Embrace and Bomb Samdi's effect has also been increased by 50%, and the Embrace of Kimball's chance to trigger has been increased by an incredible 400%. Also in this patch, we're getting some updates to grouping, so cross-faction groups can now queue for dungeons if you have a full pre-made party of 5 players. Yeah, so you know, it's kind of a band-aid fix. So if you have a full team of 5 cross-faction, you could queue for Timewalking or Heroic Dungeons or normal dungeons if you really want to. However, if you don't have a full party, you will not be able to queue cross-faction, which is unfortunate. Hopefully they do kind of, you know, fully implement that at some point. But for now, cross-faction grouping is kind of half-baked in 1107. Also, speaking of cross-faction groups will now be able to queue for unrated PvP, however. So if you have 2 people, 3 people, 5 people, whatever, you can now queue for unrated PvP together, which is kind of nice. So that's a cool feature. Shout out to PvP. Good stuff for them. Also, we're going to get some item updates. So there's going to be a ton of new rewards for Timewalking for Cataclysm, Mr. Pandaria, Warlords of Draenor, and Legion, including some new mounts. So you have the Broodling of Sinestra for Cataclysm, the Copper-maned Quillin for Mr. Pandaria, the Nightfall Skyreaver for Warlords of Draenor, and Urzel's Flesh Ripper for Legion. These will be available on the respective Timewalking vendors, along with tons of new transmog weapons and things like that. We did get a bit of a Timewalking vendor refresh in 1105, and we're getting even more in 1107, which is awesome. Also, in regards to items, Luna, the Kyrian Path of Ascension armor vendor, now allows any class to buy her Discordiant cosmetics regardless of armor type, so pretty minor change there, but good if you are collecting that items from Shadowlands. And finally, as well for items, more rewards are now being given retroactively from quests. So this was something that was added in the last patch, and it looks like they're doing even more work now to retroactively give rewards from quests. So if you notice that your ATT percentage goes up in the new patch, that is the reason for that. Also, in 1107, we are getting a new meta achievement for Battle for Azeroth. Yes, Battle for Azeroth is getting a meta achievement. Now, this includes pretty much every BFA achievement. They're adding new kind of meta achievements, which includes some of the achievements which currently exist, but there are a ton of achievements that you're going to need for this meta. There are some nerfs to some of the extreme ones, so things like 1,000 tumors is now just going to be a lot lower than 1,000, which is nice, and some of the other ones that are a bit more horrendous are getting nerfs as well in 1107. So basically for this, every Battle for Azeroth achievement, regardless of Alliance and Horde, is included in this meta. Completing the meta will give you a new mount, which is the Jani mount. This is actually a transformation. So you're going to be able to transform into Jani and run around as Jani if you do complete the meta achievement. But yes, you can work on that right now to obviously just start getting those Battle for Azeroth achievements if you want to go back and see what's going on in Mechagon or Nazjatar, because those are all included as well. So good luck with that. So Battle for Azeroth meta coming in 1107. Speaking of meta achievements, there is also a new meta achievement for the 11.0 patch of The War Within. This achievement is called You Zal Not Pass, which is a great achievement name. To complete this achievement, essentially all you need to do is complete all of the different achievements linked to Kaz Algar. These range from just like collecting treasures, killing rares, throwing rocks at Meridar, different things like that. All these achievements do exist right now in the game, so you can go and do them. However, this achievement does include the Siren Isle battle meta, so you will need to do that once 1107 launches. The reward for this achievement is a Void Elemental mount called the Shadow of Doubt. This is obviously a model we've seen a couple times now in the War Within, and this is just a recolor of that. So yeah, a nice little meta achievement for people who have been keeping up with the achievements of the War Within so far. Also, 1107 has got some Winter Veil updates. We're not too sure on the specifics of this. However, we do know that there's a new battle pet and some new transmog coming with Winter Veil, but this was not tested on the PTR. However, they will launch shortly after the patch launches, literally like 2 days after it launches. We'll finally see what is coming with Winter Veil, but it looks like we are getting some major updates to that. Also, a really minor change, but a welcome change in 1107 is that the sparring Oathsworn Peacekeepers at the Contender's Gate in Dornogal can now be dismissed by speaking to them and telling them to take a break. So this is by the target dummies in Dornogal. You can just speak to them and they'll leave. So yeah, they're no longer in the way if you are using the target dummies. Later on, after the patch launch, some other events are returning, including Turblent Timeways, currently scheduled to launch on January 7th, 2025 and run until February 25th, 2025, which is the rumored 11.1 launch date. This is weekly rotating Timewalking similar to before, and this will reward a heroic Nurbar Palace item weekly as far as we're aware. And it does have a new achievement called Master of the Turbulent Timeways 2, which does reward a new mount called the Timely Buzzbee, which is an awesome kind of bronze dragon themed bee mount. I really like it. It actually looks really cool. So yeah, you can get that from just kind of continually doing time walking during the Turbulent Timeways event. The previous reward for Turbulent Timeways has been added to any of the time walking vendors for 5,000 time warp badges. So if you never got it before, you can now purchase that from the vendors, which is super nice. And finally, with 1107, later on in the patch, will be the return of Plunderstorm. Plunderstorm will return on January 14th and will run until February 18th currently. This version of Plunderstorm does include some new changes, including a new practice mode, new and updated abilities, an improved starting drop. The Earthen have now been added also to Plunderstorm. Some other speculated changes are that there are no more trios. It doesn't seem like trios are mentioned at all, which is interesting. And potentially, we might be able to queue from the PvP tab in-game, which is awesome. There is some UI elements pertaining to that. Whether or not they'll be activated, we'll have to see once that launches. And also, you will have a new Plunder store. So this is a new way to get the rewards from Plunderstorm using Plunder as your currency. So you'll be able to purchase all of the older rewards from the previous Renown track, which has now gone away, but there are also many new rewards available with Plunder. So if you've got all the previous rewards, you can purchase all of those new rewards. If you've never done Plunderstorm before, it's going to be a pretty hefty grind, but yes, you can purchase all of those older rewards and some of the new stuff, including new mounts and transmogs and things of that nature. So very, very fun. A pretty short, sharp return for Plunderstorm. And they did tease something in the future of Plunderstorm, including new maps and things like that. But yeah, we'll have to see. For now, this is kind of a Plunderstorm 1.5 as described by Blizzard. But guys, that is it. That is everything coming in patch 1107. Not the biggest patch in the world, but yeah, as mentioned, this is a minor patch of the War Within. So it is nice to get a new island, some new collectibles. As a collector, this is going to be a lot of fun. There is going to be so much for me to do in this patch, but if you are a seasonal gamer, this might not be the patch for you. You might have to just wait it out until Season 2 of The War Within, which, as mentioned, is rumored to launch in February 25, but we'll have to see what happens with that. But guys, thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please do leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you want to support me outside of YouTube, I'm also on Patreon, and I'm on Twitter, MrGMYT, and I have a partner Discord channel as well. And as mentioned, I am streaming on twitch.tv/MrGM. If you want to see me stream World of Warcraft, War Within, Season of Discovery, all of that good stuff, guys, I'm over on twitch.tv/MrGM. And with that, guys, I'll see you next time.